Hello, and welcome to Biker Bushcraft. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. For those of you who watched my breakdown video, you saw me put together a Roycroft pack frame and pack a certain amount of gear meant for an emergency situation. This gear was based on the Bushcraft 5Cs. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do an overnighter using only the gear that I packed in that previous video. The only things that I've changed, I haven't added any tools, I haven't added any cooking gear. I did add some additional food because this is going to be a definite overnighter. I want to be comfortable, so I've packed myself some food for dinner and some food for breakfast. I also have changed out the blanket. If you'll recall from that previous video, I opted for the smaller wool blanket because it would be adequate in an emergency situation. However, one, because weight is less of an issue right now. Two, because the temperatures are about 20 degrees colder than they were at night when I filmed that first video. I've opted for my larger, heavier wool blanket. I have a Faribault queen size 100% wool blanket that is absolutely awesome. And that's what I'll be using in this video so that I can be a little bit more comfortable and not freeze tonight. I'm going to be using my poncho as a structure. I'm going to be using a long fire tonight because that's not much of a structure. I don't have a ground pad, but I do need to keep warm, and it's going to be down into the 20s tonight. So the long fire will help me do that. The first steps that I need to do are to start with a couple of tools. I know I'm going to need a digging stick, so I'm going to make a digging stick. And I know that I'm going to need a mallet because all I have in the way of cutting tools are my knife to cut all my firewood and set up my structure. So the first step, I'm going to collect some wood and make a couple of tools. Okay, the first thing I need is a digging stick. Why? Because at some point I'm going to need to go to the bathroom and I don't have a shovel. So found this stick. It's pretty good length. It'll work. I can get a hold of it, and it's already broken off to almost a surface that'll work for digging. I just need to trim it up a little bit. That'll work. Gives me a good solid point to get down into the ground and start digging a hole. And I'll also be using this for a lot of other tasks around the campsite, such as clearing the area for my fire pit. So, got my digging stick. Got the start of some wood chips that I'm going to use for starting my fire. And I've got my mallet. And it's not terrible, but it's not perfect, but it will work. Didn't have to bark it. It's already been debarked and it's not rotted, which is nice. Most of the wood around here is pretty punky. So this will work. So I have my first two and most important tools. That's north, that's south, roughly. Northeast, southwest. The wind here comes predominantly from the northeast. So I'm going to want my shelter to be set up to block me from that north wind and also blow a little bit through for the fire. So I'm going to set it up along here and of course as level a spot as I can find. Just want to get the big sticks out of the way and pine cones and that sort of thing. Things that would be rather unpleasant to sleep on. And you'll see the poncho has two different lengths, a width and a length. And I'm going to want to get this set up so I can sleep under it. So I've put tie-outs along the long side of it, and that'll pretty well give me shelter through the night from any dew condensation. It'll also help keep the heat in from the fire and keep me warm. And you'll notice with these stakes, I did put a little notch to help keep the tie out in there, and they're carved down. Took a little bit more time and effort on them than I did on the stakes on the Bushcraft on a budget video, just because. One of the problems I have around here with softwoods is a lot of it's rotted, so I get to make another stake. And this should be adequate. This isn't going to work either. Now that I got my stakes in, I got a ridge pole, and I just need to clean this up. It's really important to get anything that could poke through the poncho off here. That's the case even if you're dealing with the tarp. You want to get anything pokey shaved off of it. And about that long. All right, there it is. That'll work as a ridge pole. Now I've got to create a couple of bipods to connect this to. These two will work. So what I'm going to do, since I can't cut these, I've got a tree up here I'm going to use to break them. And this one I've got marked by this little stub. This is not an exact science. Especially when you're dealing with wood that is not particularly green. Fortunately, I have another piece here that'll work. Would like to get more wraps on this, but didn't leave myself enough to do that, so I'm just going to have to deal with it. And I'm going to do the same for the other end. It's not critical that the tripods, or actually the bipods at this end, are the exact same, because you can spread them out to even it out and get your ridge pole level. You want to go around about 4 times. And this is the same basic lashing as the Roycroft frame as well. got our tripod set up. The final piece is to secure the poncho to the ridge line. And that can be done a lot of different ways, but if you've been watching me for a while, you know I prefer simple. So all I'm going to do is take a little piece of paracord and just wrap it around and just tie it directly to the ridge pole. And remember, I have cleaned that ridge pole off, so there shouldn't be anything that's going to damage my poncho. Do the same thing at this end. Pull it up tight a little bit. If we were going to have winds tonight, I'd be a lot more worried about how I'm doing this, and I'd take some additional steps. But it's not supposed to blow at all tonight. In fact, the forecast wind speed is 1 mile per hour, so I think I'm okay. So, all right. Now the other thing, you'll see a lot of other people will tape down the hood. Again, this is just to help keep the warmth in and to keep dew off. It's not going to rain tonight. I'm not really worried about it. So as it is right now, it'll work. It's very low, which is what I want. I want to make sure that it stays to where it keeps as much heat as possible in. You may want to raise it up higher if you're going to be sitting in your structure, but I just want it as some place to sleep and help keep some heat in while I'm sleeping. So the final piece of this is to put a guy line off the side, and this is kind of optional. It's fairly stable as it is, but I just like overdoing things, I guess. To do that, you can just put a Canadian jam knot in there and wrap it over the top of your tripod, and try not to get your headlamp caught in it. There we go. So you'll notice also that I did hang my headlamp here well before it's dark. You want to make sure that your lights, whatever you have for lights, whether it's lanterns, headlights, flashlights, or whatever it is easy to find well before it gets dark, because you don't want to be fumbling around searching for this stuff in the dark. Don't ask me how I know that. And a loop. And a little bit of tension from a broke off my notched piece, so got to re-notch it. There we go. That should keep the line on it. There we go. Then I'll do the same thing to the other side. This works way better if you don't keep breaking off the top part of your steak that you have notched. There we go. So there it is. Poncho structure. Now you notice my wool coat I have down as a sleeping mat, and it's not going to give me much cushion, but it will give me a little bit of extra insulation from the ground. My wool blanket is just laying in there for now. I'm going to turn that diagonally before I go to bed and burrito up in it. You may recall that term from my breakdown video. Now it's time to get my fire reflector built and get ready to start the fire. My fire reflector set up. I've got my verticals driven in the ground and pieces between those and lashed together. Nothing fancy, but it should help reflect the heat back towards my structure to help keep me warm. Because of the fact that there's bark on this wood and it is dead, even though it's springy, it's still got a lot of moisture in it. It is dead wood. So I'm going to keep my fire away from the fire reflector a little bit. If it does catch fire, I can just push it over in the night into my fire and burn it. I've got the starting logs for my long fire, and it's going to be about this long, about as long as the short one here. I'll keep it going, keep just a few logs on it because I want to keep the fire small. I want to keep it as much as possible a bed of coals so that it keeps me warm and doesn't use a whole lot of wood. And I will start my tinder in the middle between these two logs and get it burning and spread out. and that'll create the long fire. I'm also going to look for a couple of rocks to put in front of this front log, because as this burns down, I don't want there to be any chance of it rolling into my sleeping area. If I can't find rocks, I'll drive a couple of stakes in. That's not ideal because obviously they're going to burn at some point, but if that's what I have to work with, I'll make it work. So at this point, it's a little early to get the fire started and a little early to start working on dinner. So I'm going to go start collecting firewood, and I'll see you folks when the fire's going. One more little trick I wanted to show you guys that I like to do when I'm camping, and it works out pretty well, is I know you guys have all seen that pink camp pillow thing that I got, and it's not bad, but even as small as it is, I never seem to have room for it. It seems to always get in the way, but I do like some kind of a pillow. So what I do, put my sweatshirt on its back, fold the arms in, roll it up, and put it inside the hood. And this makes a fantastic little pillow. So there you go. So I haven't done this in a while. I'm going to go ahead and do a pan of my camp area here, my campsite, and show you where I'm camping. It's kind of a cool area. I've been here once before. Of course, I pulled in at night. It wasn't ideal circumstances, and camped and left early in the morning. But beautiful area. The unfortunate thing is there is a lot of tree mortality up here due to the pine beetle. But this is it. So having completed this overnighter using a poncho and minimal bug out gear, basically based on the 5 C's, I would like to challenge the Spirit Forest team to build a Roycroft pack frame like I did in my breakdown video, each of you, and pack it based on the 5 C's and do an overnighter. I understand that in Colorado right now it's pretty darn cold, so if you need to put this off for better weather, I absolutely understand that, but I'd like you to do it. I know you guys have some really good high-tech gear. I would like to see you consider using more traditional gear. I know you've got some really nice wool blankets. I saw you having your beer break on them. But consider using more traditional gear. And also I hope you pick up some tips from this camp out. Like I said, for me, a ground pad is an absolute must, and that's one thing that I should have included. Good luck. Thank you for watching part 1 of Overnighter with a Poncho. Please tune in for part 2, coming soon. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notified whenever I put a new video up so you don't miss anything. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.
One road in, the same road out. A lot of things that the people here have learned to live without. The sign says Eden, it's hard to believe. The irony in that name, it isn't lost on me. An old phone booth on the corner, nothing left there but broken glass. I just need to find a place get some caffeine and some gas. Windmills on the mountain, bringing power down below. And I can't even see what else is here under 7 feet of snow. The streets of empty buildings cleverly disguised. I wonder, is this their idea of paradise here in Eden? Cassie works the general store. She was born here in '95. She tells me she'll be damned if this is where she's gonna die. Her whole life story comes in casual conversation. 1,100 people in this town, she knows everyone. Living all her life here has put her to the test. When everyone knows your name, you just assume the rest. Nothing here to hold on to, it's easy for her to say. She's seen California in a photograph, it's 1,000,000 miles away. The streets of empty buildings, faced with empty eyes. It's clear that this ain't her idea of paradise here in Eden. I can. If I'd have blinked, I might have missed this town, never caught the name. Cassie stands and waits, moves her hair off of her face. But I've got some place to be, maybe I should get to her someday. The streets of empty buildings, seen through strangers' eyes. This damn sure ain't a postcard